Welcome to another episode of the Preparing for Pregnancy After Loss podcast. This is your host, Natalie Facey. I am an angel mom times two. I am an emotional healing practitioner. I'm a birth doula and I'm a coach. And all of these things that I do, I essentially put them together to support who I call birth warriors, those who have had challenges on their pregnancy or birthing journey, to support them, you, in your healing. So thank you for joining this episode. Thank you for taking the time, wherever you are in the world, whatever you're doing, whether you're sitting and having some tea, whether you're multitasking, whether you're taking a break in the middle of the day or winding down at the end of the evening. I am so appreciative that you have decided to spend this time with me. This is being recorded a few days before Mother's Day. It's being recorded especially for Mother's Day because there are so many complex emotions that come up around Mother's Day. And the intention that I set for today's episode is to offer you words of peace, offer you words of comfort, and share the framework that I have for motherhood that is different from what we're taught being a mother is. That's different from what we're taught motherhood is, so that with your journey, the experiences that you've gone through, whether it is pregnancy loss, infant loss, infertility, whether you're on the IVF journey right now, whatever your flavor of being a birth warrior is, you still get to embrace motherhood because you are a mother. So stick around until the end and I will share what that framework is, what my experience has been with that, with using that framework or approaching motherhood in that way. And I will also share stories from other parents, other moms, and their little ones who have joined them here on earth, stories from them to help you to understand why looking at motherhood or parenthood in this way is actually probably the right way. Like, it's a more expansive approach and it's going to be supportive and healing in your journey. Before we get to that, I do want to share some tips around self-care for this Mother's Day or any day at all when you know that a lot of emotions might come up for you. Okay? So if this is your first Mother's Day after your loss, it might be especially triggering. And the reason for that is you don't expect all of the things that are going to bring up emotions for you. So one is that, whether or not, your loss is new, just in general, I would say that seeing a lot of families with their children, that might be triggering for you. Like, you might be reminded that you don't have that for yourself yet, or the way that you want it to happen, it hasn't happened yet. Seeing babies, kids, that might be triggering for you. If someone wishes you a happy Mother's Day, that might be triggering for you. If someone doesn't wish you a happy Mother's Day, that might be triggering for you. So what I want you to be prepared for is just having emotions come up, right? And as emotions come up, I want you to know that all of that is totally okay. So if you find yourself crying, if you find yourself on the grumpier side, if you find yourself becoming frustrated or overwhelmed, those are all natural things that might come up because your system, your body, your emotions, you're having to deal with a lot and you're having to process a lot, right? So when it's not any special day, when it's not Mother's Day or the anniversary of your loss, or when it's just a normal day, you get to deal with the emotions at your own pace, right? Because it doesn't feel as though you're being thrown a lot of stimuli that you have to process and work through. Now, on Mother's Day and on other days, even Father's Day, when Father's Day comes up, there are a lot of stimuli that are going to be coming your way. So, advertisements on TV encouraging people to buy gifts for their mother, or uh, you might actually think of your own mother, and if your mother has expressed their desire in you having children, like that might come up, right? And so as these different stimuli come up, what you're going to be sensing within your body, within your emotions, are the stories that you tell yourself. So a story might be, my body isn't strong enough, my body failed, because there was a loss. So your body failed, your body disappointed you. That could be a story. Another story might be that other members of your family or people in your circle, they are having what they want and it's not happening for you. So the story might be that life doesn't work out for you. The story might be that you failed your partner in some way. None of these stories are true. They're not true, but it's sort of like the default that our brain goes to because it just feels accessible, right? It feels like the easiest explanation for what's going on, and also like what we might see in the media that portrays success in a certain way. So like having children, having a family, and you might consider yourself not being the success, having failed because your experience is different. So a lot of these things are the programming that we've received. Sometimes it's just like something that your brain comes up with. Your brain would rather have you criticize yourself than someone else criticize you. So you are going to be a harsher critic than others will be towards you. So while others might be treating you with so much compassion and so much love and understanding that you went through this really terrible experience and all you need right now is love and care. That's all you need, right? So while your partner and family members and friends might want to hold that space for you, you within yourself, you're holding a very different energy. You might be holding criticism because, again, your brain is going to be a harsher critic, right? Or the role of our brain is to help to protect us and help to ensure our survival. So if we can treat ourselves harshly and we know how to navigate that, then it means that we are preventing others from treating us harshly, right? So we do the thing, we do the harm ourselves before others do it, because in some way that feels more manageable, right? So overall, know that a lot of emotions will come up for you. Know that there might be some negative story in your mind. And as these things come up, just acknowledge that they're there, right? So don't judge yourself for judging yourself. Don't judge yourself for having a story that isn't completely loving, that isn't completely kind. Acknowledge it. Just observe it. Just see that it's there. And you might say, okay, I see you. I see you, criticism. I see you, sadness. I see you, disappointment. I see that you're here. And then once you acknowledge the emotion that's there, the story that's there, decide what you want to do with it, right? So you might decide, I'm going to go for a walk today. You might decide, I am going to have some tea. You might decide Today is a do nothing day. I am going to stay in bed. I'm going to watch something entertaining, something funny, and I will begin again tomorrow. Today I'm not doing crap. Right? So you decide, and it's really important to decide. It's important to decide because if you let it, the emotions might take you over. If you let it, it might feel as though you are just going down into a spiral of sadness. However, if you decide that with my sadness, I'm going to take a bath, then you're the one who's in control. You're the one who is managing your experience, right? So, you know, and I'll continue to use the sadness as an example. You might be sad and be in bed and just like watch something to make you feel better. And that's okay. But the important part of it is being present to the experience and having awareness while you're going through the experience. So essentially, don't allow the experience to have you. Allow yourself to be intentionally creating the experience, right? So allowing the experience to have you is, it's like feeling terrible, being unconscious about it, getting something to eat, taking a nap, sleeping for the rest of the day. That's an option, right? And really, the experience takes you over. Now, you can do the very same things. Like you might decide that I'm sad today. Today, I'm going to be wearing my bathrobe and I'm going to be in bed watching something sad, watching something funny. I might just want to cry off the rest of the day, or I might want to be uplifted by something, right? But when you intentionally decide that that's what you're doing, and when you are taking the steps to do that, you get to manage your day, you get to manage your experience instead of having the experience take you over completely. Because if it takes you over completely, there's a likelihood that you can spiral deeper. And then you might feel so out of control. It's sort of like falling into, what's that thing called? Like quicksand. Like it feels like you're so out of control and, there's nothing to grab you. There's nothing for you to hold on to. But when you're intentionally going into it as, I am having tea with my sadness. I'm going to write about these sad experiences that are coming up. I'm going to spend an hour or 2 hours doing that. And when I'm done, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to have brunch. I'm going to have a virtual movie experience where we're watching the same thing even though we're not in the same place. So really choosing how you spend your day. Definitely encourage that. So ahead of Mother's Day, you can decide, okay, do I feel like I might want to spend some time alone? Or do I feel like I might want to connect with people? Am I more uplifted when I'm around people, or might that drain my energy? Do I feel more grounded when I'm alone? Right? So maybe start there and then decide either if I'm alone or, at home with my partner, or if I'm connecting with friends or family members, what experiences do I want to have on Mother's Day? Okay. I would also recommend that you give people a heads up if you actually want to be acknowledged. I know it might sound weird to like reach out to someone and say, "Hey, it's Mother's Day. Just so you know, I celebrate it. So don't forget me. I would really appreciate if you just send me some love on Mother's Day." Because it might be a difficult one for me and emotions might come up for me. Like, don't be afraid to do that because often people don't know how you might feel. They don't know if you want to be acknowledged. They don't know if their reaching out to you might actually bring up sadness for you. And so often they really appreciate your giving them the direction that they want to be able to follow your lead so that they can support you based on what your needs are. Okay? If you don't want anyone reaching out, then let it be known. Let it be known. Mother's Day is coming up. I know you might think it's really sweet to wish me a happy Mother's Day, but I usually have a lot of emotions that come up on that day, and I would prefer if you not reach out. I love you and thank you for understanding. Just let them know what your needs are and they will follow. They will absolutely follow. Okay. So hopefully those tips are helpful. Let me see if there's anything else that oh, yes. So, something else that might come up is guilt. And you might experience guilt for a number of reasons. So you might have living children in their physical body living with you, and you might find that there is sadness that comes over you on Mother's Day. And you might be wondering, it's less wondering and more that there is this conflict. It's like, I have my children. I should be happy. People say that I am blessed because I'm quote unquote lucky to have my living children. And so I should be happy, but I'm grieving. I'm feeling sadness for the baby I just lost, the pregnancy I just lost. And again, give yourself the permission to experience all of those things. Because people, they give advice from a number of different places, a number of states of being. Sometimes they're just trying to find the thing that they think will make you feel better. And sometimes it is stupid. People say stupid things. I hear it. I see it on the internet. They've said it to me. They've said it to other people in my presence. It's not the most appropriate thing. It doesn't make you feel better. It might actually make you feel worse. But they think they're helping you. And sometimes they're so uncomfortable talking about loss and dealing with loss, and they want to relieve you of the pain that they perceive that you're having, that crap just comes out of their mouth. So one, give them compassion, just understand what's happening in their mind. And two, if it doesn't resonate with you, don't accept it. So when someone says, at least you know that you're young, so you can get pregnant again. At least you know that you can get pregnant. At least you have other children, so, you should be happy. It's okay. Or you weren't far along in the pregnancy anyways, so it shouldn't be that painful. All of that is bullshit, and you don't need to take any of that because you know the pain that you feel having lost your baby. You know the pain that you feel dreaming of having a baby and to be told that you have an infertility diagnosis. You know what you're feeling. So you don't need to wait on anybody else to validate whether or not those emotions are appropriate. You know what you're feeling, right? So the guilt might come up because of holding those stories from other people that you are lucky in this way, therefore you should not be sad. Right? You have the gift of this thing, therefore you should be okay. Right? Like hold your head up, stop your crying and hold your head up, right? So the guilt will come up, acknowledge the guilt when it comes up, and the way of releasing the guilt is by giving yourself grace, by acknowledging these are the emotions that I am experiencing and all of my emotions are valid. Okay. Guilt might come up in other ways too if you feel as though, somehow you are responsible for your loss. I did an entire podcast on that. I forgot what the name of it was, but you can search through the past episodes. Actually, let me quickly find that one. I think there was one specifically about guilt and shame. So definitely check that one out if you haven't already. Let me see if I can find the title. Yeah. Episode 6, Healing Shame and Guilt on the Birth Warrior Journey. Check that out because that was a full episode on shame and guilt. it's a great one to look at if those emotions have been coming up for you. All right, so what I want to share today is my framework of motherhood. There is this lovely book that has been coming up in my sessions with clients. It's been coming up for me because what they've been sharing with me, I've been inspired to share this book. And I wanted to share it with you around Mother's Day because it helps you to, or hopefully it will help you to embrace the type of motherhood that you're going through right now, or embrace your current motherhood journey, right? Obviously, we know that that will change. We're holding the intention that you bring your baby home, that you have your baby home with you, that you raise your child. And so that's the intention that we're working towards. But the version of motherhood that you're experiencing right now is still motherhood. So let me get my phone because this is a book that I have on my Kindle. It's called Memories of Heaven. And this is a book written by an amazing teacher called Wayne Dyer. He is one of the authors who've published with Hay House. Yeah, amazing teacher. He's already made his transition, but he has written so many incredible things, and his teachings have definitely been instrumental in my spiritual growth, my spiritual evolution. And I came across this book after, I think it was after my second loss, after Mateo. And I remember just reading these different accounts from parents. So parents all over the world who have shared stories from their children who have remembered being in heaven before they came here. So these children are talking about God and angels and being surrounded by divine love. And it's just fascinating to hear all of these accounts. And so, again, the name of the book is called Memories of Heaven, and it's by Wayne Dyer, and I think the person he wrote it with was his secretary. There's an entire story behind this, where I think his secretary had a toddler, like a 4-year-old or something, and he said something remarkable at the dinner table, and she was like, wait, how does this kid know this? Like, where is this deep wisdom coming from? And she shared it with Wayne Dyer, and I think he also had young children and had similar experiences with his young children, of them just saying these incredible, remarkable things about God and heaven and their life before coming here, right? Because their souls, they are eternal beings, and they come to earth through a human body to have a life experience on earth. So Wayne put a question out in his Facebook community asking if other people have had these experiences with their children. And from there, so many people responded. Like the Facebook post is still there, so you can actually see these responses from years and years ago. And from those responses, he wrote a book. So that's what this book is. So I'm going to read some of the accounts from these parents, some of the accounts that they've shared. I highlighted the ones that I wanted to share with you. So let me go to my bookmarks so I can find them. So this first one is from someone from Ohio. Her name, or this person's name, is Laura Kretler from Lewis Center, Ohio. So Laura says, my daughter tells me all the time that she came to me from the stars, that she chose my husband and me to be her mommy and daddy while she was in the stars, and that she has 3 daughters who are in the stars and will one day come down to be her children. And I think that is so interesting because I've noticed, and this is also my own experience, that parents who have children who've made their transition, we start to have this connection with the stars. Like no one ever told us, like your child now lives in the stars, but somehow we are drawn to the stars. And I'll share, where is it? I'll share this this thing that I wear in honor of Mateo. I'll bring it. How do I? Okay, here we are. So if you're listening to the audio, you can't see it, but I'll just describe that it's a necklace that has a stone on it, and the stone has these. It looks like the night sky, so it has these like little sparkles inside of it that looks like stars in the night sky. And I bought this after losing Mateo, and I could feel him telling me intuitively that I should buy this and that it would bring me comfort and remind me of him. And so how I think of Mateo is that he is now in the stars. He has been released from his physical body, and he is now a part of life, right? He is a part of all of life, a part of the universe, a part of the stars. All right, that was the first one. So this child is basically saying she chose her mom and her dad. All right, let me go to the next one. This one really touched my heart. Wait, I'm not going to give you that one yet. Okay. All right, I'll give you this one first. My son constantly... Is that it? Yes, this is it. Oh, this one is from someone in Brooklyn, New York. Her name is, or this person's name is Erin Michelle Threlfall. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. All right. My son constantly talks about how excited he was as a baby in my belly, waiting for me, how scared he was to come out, and how happy he was to finally see my face. I always thought he was being creative. He had hearing problems as a child, which were remedied with a surgery. When he came out of the anesthesia, I sang to him. He grabbed my face, eyes wide, and said, "Mommy, your voice is so beautiful. This is the voice I chose." Again, I thought he was just telling stories. Hearing other people share their experiences makes me think there was more going on than I thought. These are going to make me cry. These are definitely going to make me cry. So today I took out my napkins so that if I wanted to cry, I could. So just a heads up, I might be bawling by the end of these. All right. This is the other one that I mentioned that I wanted to wait for. Okay. I had a termination while receiving treatment for a back problem, and it broke my heart. Years later, my back healed, and I had a beautiful baby girl. When she was 2, she was sitting there with a book and just looked up at me and said, "Mommy, you sent me back the first time because you had a bad back, but I came back when your back was better." She said, "Mommy, you sent me back the first time because you had a bad back, but I came back when your back was better." Isn't that just so beautiful? Like this child is acknowledging that her intention was to come through and have this experience with her mother, but the conditions weren't right. Like her mom had issues with her back and had to terminate the pregnancy. And when her back was healed, and she became pregnant again, the same soul came back in, the same soul came through. And so that's one of the ones that I wanted to share with you, because there is guilt, right? And there might be shame after a loss. There's so much pain because we think that, oh, somehow our bodies failed. And the truth of the matter is, if the soul that had intended to come in, if the soul chooses to come back in again, then they will. They will come back. So I hope this brings some comfort to you and the understanding that life is fluid. It isn't that a child dies and that's it. Their soul still lives. Their soul is still connected to yours. They still have love for you. They still want to be in your life and are in your life in some way, whether it is that their energy is around yours and you can actually feel their energy, like you might see a bird or a butterfly or, the shape of a cloud, and you remember them because they're trying to communicate to you that they're still here, that they still love you. So know that your children aren't gone, and know that you're still their mother. And know that if they choose, they can still come back in. And even if they don't choose, they're still a part of your life in a different way. You still have this spiritual connection with them. Okay? This one is a fun one. My children, who are 5 and 7, have many conversations about when they were in mama's belly. Most recently, my son asked my daughter, "Did you watch TV while you're in mama's belly?" When my daughter said no, Noah replied, "Well, I did." Then I asked him, "Did you see me while you were in my belly?" Noah said no, but I imagined what you would look like. I asked, "Is this what you imagined I would look like?" He said, "No, you're prettier than I imagined." So sweet. Okay, let me find another one. I'm going to take you to one which is one of my favorites of all. One of my favorites of all. Okay. So this is from Melissa Held Wegner in Longmont, Colorado. One night at dinner, our younger foster adopted son, he was about 4 years old, started talking at great length about his life, quote unquote, in the stars, and how he had all these brothers and sisters who lived there. He said he'd seen my husband and me from there and tried to get our attention many times, but we never could see him, so he decided to be born through his mom so we could find him. My husband and I were floored, to say the least. I'd had a few miscarriages after my first son, so once my younger son told us what he'd seen, I knew his soul had been trying to come in through me, even though my body was not able to do it. We feel our older son always knew the plan because he was the one constantly begging us for a sibling. Once his brother came to live with us, and in brackets, she has placed with us at 22 months old, he was so happy to have him here, even though it wasn't easy in the beginning. They are now best of friends. Like, that's amazing. That's amazing. That is amazing. So this person says, I'd had a few miscarriages after my first son, so once my younger son told us what he'd seen, I knew his soul had been trying to come in through me, even though my body was not able to do it. And just going back to what the younger foster adopted son said, he said he'd seen my husband and me from there, from the stars where he said he lived, and tried to get our attention many times, but we never could see him. So he decided to be born through his mom so we could find him. Wow. Yeah. It means that whatever your version of motherhood or parenting is, you're still a mother. And it also means that whether your route to motherhood or parenthood is surrogacy, adoption, donor egg, that child chose you. That child chose you. And it also means that if you're not currently pregnant, if you are trying to conceive right now, these souls, you're already connected to them. They are already holding the knowing that the plan is to come through you, or the plan is to be raised by you with you as their parent. And so you can begin connecting with them. You know, like when you write your letters to your children, you are actually writing your letters to your children, right? Because as we're seeing, your children are your children before they are here on this physical earth. This is just such a beautiful reminder to really embrace the intuition that you've been receiving, the intuitive guidance you've been receiving. Like, you know, you might feel very strongly that there's another child that you're meant to have, or that you're meant to have a child, that you're meant to have children, and you're not wrong. The reason why you're feeling that is because these souls are communicating with you. These souls are letting you know that, you know, when you're ready, when the conditions are right, then they're going to be coming through, either through your body or through some other route. So I hope this creates greater openness for what is motherhood and what motherhood or parenthood can be. It doesn't have to look a certain way. And I hope this gives you the permission to embrace your version of motherhood. Whether it is that your children are now living in the stars, and in the right time they will come through. They will be with you. Or the souls that have already spent time living in your body, who have received your love and your care and your attention. They're not holding any malice towards you. They're not holding any negative emotions towards you. All they have for you is love. All they have for you is love. As I'm talking about love, there's another one that I am inspired to share. And the time now is 11:11. Mystical, magical numbers as I talk about love. I'll end with this one, because it's such a beautiful thought. My son Lucas, now age 13, declared something profound when he was 2.5. My parents, my husband, our new baby girl, Lucas, and I were sitting outdoors on a family vacation, playing with clay and having quite a moment. Lucas suddenly said, "Everything is love. It's all about love. We are all made of love, and God is love." And the mother has in brackets, "We're not a family who talks much about God." Stunned, I replied, "Lucas, what a beautiful thing to say. Where did you hear that?" After a pause, he said, "I already knew it when I came here." 4 adults And one baby heard him say this, and we all cried. I have tears running down my face just remembering it. I hope you enjoy it too. And this is from Anastasia Bryan in Greenwich, Connecticut. Oh my gosh, these are so cool. So cool. So cool. And I promised that I would share my own experience with this, and this experience came through a healing session that I did. Yeah, so I did a healing session a couple of years ago, or was it about a year ago? Yeah, it was about a year and a half ago. It was a breathwork session, and I may talk more about it another time, but I'll tell you some of what I experienced. And I've talked about energy and energy or emotions, which emotions are energy. Emotions means energy in motion. So energy or emotions being held in the body when they aren't healed, when they aren't released. So emotions are meant to move, energy in motion. But if there is something that is too difficult for us to process and release, then they're held in the body. So in this breathwork experience, or breathwork in general, helps you to move emotions out of the body through the breath, right? And how I like to think of it is that as these emotions are being held in different parts of the body, whether it's in the gut, the liver, the kidneys, along the spine, wherever the emotions are held, as the breath is moving in the body, then your breath touches those emotions, right? Your breath is connecting those emotions. I think a part of the reason why, after going through something difficult, we have shallow breathing, it's because the deeper we breathe, the more that we're able to feel. The deeper the breath goes, the more that the breath is able to touch the emotions that are there. But if you don't have the support to be able to know how to heal these emotions as they're coming up, then instead of allowing ourselves to go more deeply to touch those emotions, then we just like breathe up here in our, the top of our chest, in our neck, so that we're not going too deep. So in this breathwork experience, the breath is obviously going deep, like we're pulling the breath from the gut, even lower if possible, and up the chest, up. So the breath is like being pulled from deep into the body, which means that it's touching the emotions deep into the body. And I really connected with my womb, my creative center, right? And how much trauma was there, having had 2 losses, right? So as I was doing this breathwork exercise, I was able to release a lot of the emotions that are held there. I was able to release it through the breath. I was able to release it through sound, because in this room, we're all on the floor, the lights were down. We were encouraged to scream and make noise, and you better believe that I was screaming and making noise, right? Because we don't often have the opportunity to be as free, to really be loosed. We don't often have that opportunity. Like, if I were to be screaming in my apartment the way that I was screaming in that yoga studio, people would think that someone was hurting me. People would like call the police and think that someone was being hurt. But through the voice, you're able to release so much energy, and so that was a really healing experience for me. And after that, after releasing the heaviness of that experience and just lying down on the floor and feeling so much ease in my body, something just so beautiful and profound occurred. I could feel the energies of my babies all around me. This is the first time that I'm sharing this on this podcast. The only time that I've shared this outside of my circle of close friends was to a lovely birth warrior who had been listening to the podcast, and she reached out. And I thought of sharing this with her because it came to mind as I was thinking of her own journey. And so she was the first, and you get to be the second. And so in this experience, the souls of my babies were around me. And in that moment, I felt like I was like a dog, like a female dog who had given birth, and there were like all these little pups around her. So like that was the experience that I was having, because there were so many. There were like 6 of them, like 3 on each side, and they were just like hugging and like kissing me and like loving me up. And it was so joyful, right? So the I would say like the form that they took in their bodies were like these little beings, these little babies. And it felt just like so beautiful and so joyful and so loving. And what I realized was that the souls that were here, they were the souls of the babies that had already made their transition, right? And there were the souls of the babies, or the souls of the beings who had not come through yet. So in all, the number that I was sensing was 6. Doesn't mean that I'll have 6 children. But what it means is that there was the potential for 6 souls to come through me, for me to mother 6 souls here on earth. And so my first, Natalia, was definitely there. I sensed her energy very strongly. I knew that she was there. And all these other babies who I have not met yet. Now, the reason why I shared this story after I read from that book is like this might sound a little bit crazy. I don't even want to use that term. I'm trying to be very intentional about my language, but it isn't something that we hear often. I'm telling you that all of these souls were surrounding me, and they are the potentiality of my babies being here, the babies that I could potentially have. Right, the souls that would come through me, or that would be mothered by me. They were all there. And so as I think of motherhood, I don't have living children with me right now. My children are in the stars. They are a part of the universe. They are part of the body of the universe. But I know that I am a mother, both because of my children who were held in my body and they made their transition, and also because of the children who will eventually come through me. So this Mother's Day, it's my day. It's my day too. Just like Mother's Day is also your day. So you decide, birth warrior. You decide what you want to do. You decide how you want to be acknowledged, how you want to be celebrated. You decide if you want to connect with your babies, the ones who spend time with you here on earth, who received your love while they were in utero, while they were in your body. You decide if you want to connect with them and feel their energy with no guilt, no shame, just love. Like Lucas said, there is only love. Everything is about love. You decide. So I am going to end here for today because this feels good. This feels like the right place to land. I'm sending you so much love for Mother's Day. So much love. And in any way that feels right to honor the mother that you are, I encourage you to do that. I love you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful that you're listening, that you created the space and time to be here. I'm grateful that even though we're in different parts of the world, different parts of the country, we get to be connected in this way. And I'm grateful that these words are able to offer you some inspiration or, little breadcrumbs, little nuggets to help to deepen your healing. Of course, I work with birth warriors on their journey one-to-one. If there's additional support that they need outside of listening to the words on this podcast. So I offer support if you are not pregnant yet, if you're on the IVF journey, or if you're trying to conceive and need help with your emotional healing, need help with reducing stress, need help with reducing all of the anxiety and the worry that comes up. I support those who are currently pregnant right now and have a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear around losing the pregnancy, a lot of fear around what might go wrong. And, they're feeling isolated because it doesn't feel as though those around them understand why there is so much fear in their body, why they don't understand why they should be happy because they're pregnant again. So I know why you're having the anxiety. I know what it feels like to hold both fear and love in your body. And so I offer support while you're pregnant. I offer support in preparing for childbirth. So if your childbirth experience was traumatic, or if going to the doctor, if seeing a hospital is really triggering for you, then I offer support around preparing for childbirth without fear. Because when there is fear held in your body, it makes the childbirth experience more difficult. And a new service that I just added, a new offering that I just added is one-to-one guided meditation and relaxation. So many of you lovely listeners have been kind enough to say that you find my voice relaxing, you find it calming, you find the words that I share very affirming and uplifting. And so I wanted to offer you the opportunity to be able to just bask in that energy, right? I don't think that this is only coming from me. I think that this is coming from spirit. And when it connects with you, it's because it's something that you're meant to hear. Like you're listening to this for a reason, right? You're meant to hear this. You're meant to be inspired by this. You're meant to be encouraged by this. And so if you feel drawn to having one-to-one sessions where you can share what your experience is, what's happening in that day, in that week, what your road ahead is, and what you expect might be challenging for you, then we can have a one-to-one meditation, visualization, guided relaxation, stress release session to help to support you and fortify you, strengthen you for the rest of your journey. Okay? So all of these are on my website, nataliefacey.com. Under the services link, you'll find all of them, the different options that I just spoke about. Book a call with me for the one-to-one meditation. You can book that directly from my website. The link is there. So go ahead, book it, schedule a time. You can just go ahead and do that. And for the other programs, um, just book a call with me and we'll talk more about what that looks like. Okay? So, again, thank you for spending this time with me. Happy Mother's Day and happy Mother's Month. And I'm sending you just so much love. Just so much love. So much love. So much love. Know that you are loved. Know that you are cared for. Know that it gets better. And know that you are on the right track by taking the steps you need to take to further your healing. Okay. I love you. Bye.